Neglia. I'm with Nick's Best Picture, and I am ready to hit the beach here
Wow.
with you, Lorcan. Thank you so much for joining us here today. How are you, man?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, man. How's it going?
Good, good. I was very lucky to see this film at Cannes last year, where I had such a blast. I mean, dude, any movie where I see Nicolas Cage losing his mind and freaking out for an hour and a half is a good time as far as I'm concerned. I'm curious to know, though, like, just, for you in general, to start things off here, did any of this happen to you?
No, I mean, I could relate to a lot of elements from the story, of just like the people falling apart over periods of time, exhaustion, dehydration. You know, making films it has an element of like, you can't surf if you don't suffer. So there was elements of the story that immediately kind of appealed to me, about a guy, very well put together, losing all of his materialistic kind of aspirations across a period of time, and his parts of his psyche and everything dissolving. And as being trapped. I mean, I think that's something everyone can kind of relate to, like people being trapped in cycles, in their behaviors, in their jobs, in their relationships, So, yeah.
And also, too, I think very much so capturing the essence of what it means to be a man. Or you can expand upon that into being a father, being a provider. And so I know you didn't write this screenplay, but I also have to imagine that was another element that also probably stood out to you as well, I imagine.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Thomas Martin and I have known each other for years, so we've been planning on working together on something for a while. So when he said this started as like a 2-pager document, and it had a lot of those elements in it. But what was bubbling to the surface was that sort of masculinity in crisis element, which is it's really interesting because it's now become even more contemporary, and I think it kind of explores that in a kind of interesting way, where it's not pushing anything down anybody's throats. It's literally asking questions as opposed to like saying how people should behave. Men are a certain way, you can't deny that, and it pokes fun at it as well, I think, a little bit. Almost like Scally and the Bay Boys are like little boys who have a treehouse and won't let the other kid play. Do you know what I mean? Like it's very sort of primal in a way.
The red hoodie that Julian McMahon wears in this movie, was that written into the screenplay, or was that something you and the costume designer came up with?
I think it was written as a white in the script, but now I wanted him to almost represent a biblical figure in a way. Mm-hmm. And so very early depictions of Jesus have him in a red robe, because that would have been like an expensive pigment and like royalty and all that kind of thing. So yeah, I sent Julian some images of Jesus wearing this red robe, and he dug it. Like, he was into it because it's also like the devil / prophet, and then you've got Nick in his sandy suit, which is sort of connects him to the beach. He's just like got this longing to go to the beach and surf. So like, yeah, the costume and art department and production design were all kind of working together to lay these interesting kind of visual language themes throughout the film.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I especially love too how, you use a lot of different tools to get into the psychology of the character and his mental deterioration, whether it's lighting changes, different focal lenses, aspect ratio changes. Can you tell me a little bit about like some of those decisions and what went into that?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the initial approach was this is going to be a very subjective point of view film. Everything the audience experiences is the same as Nick's character experiences. So when he returns to this childhood beach, where he grew up, he's nostalgic about it. And so he has he looks at everything through these kind of rose tinted glasses, so that was kind of a way into the aesthetic in a way, that he's remembering it like he remembers it as a child. So that kind of makes it feel quite 60s, 70s. So we shot on these P vintage lenses from Panavision, with the RE35, and we use a lot of like quite flary lenses to evoke that feeling of heat and the sun being ever present, searing down on them. And we use flame bars under the camera as well to create additional heat distortion, and shot through water and shot through it, like into perspex mirrors to create sort of heat distortion, like that would be coming from Nick's psychological point of view. And then also the art department, in the car park, all the colors are all like hot colors, yellows and reds, burnt oranges, and then the actual location itself needed to feel quite oppressive and starting out beautiful, but then becoming quite oppressive and almost violent as Nick is becoming part of it. It's almost like he's becoming like one of the wild animals in the car park, rummaging through bins looking for food, So there were all those kind of techniques put together, but I suppose the initial approach to it was from how the character felt about the place. And then we were obviously inspired by a lot of new wave Australian films like Walkabout and Wake and Fright and Long Weekend, even Picnic at Hanging Rock.
Yeah.
Weir's other film, Last Wave, as well as Frank Perry's The Swimmer, which with Burt Lancaster, which has a similar kind of story in a way, like this man of that age breaking apart across a number of days,
Yeah, no, absolutely. And when you have material such as this, I like, it's so funny. I watch Nicolas Cage nowadays in certain roles, and I'm like, okay, either this was written with him in mind, or his team is just seeking out material that is just so perfectly suited for him. Which one was it here in this case?
I think it was wasn't written with him in mind. I don't think we've ever actually done that on any of my projects, like thought about the actor first. It's more like the story first, the character, and then who would be great at playing that role. But I do remember before we offered it to him, it was an idea and it'd be amazing if he'd do it. But I remember reading the script, picturing him in every scene and thinking, yes, this is a good film in my head. Like right now. So we took our chances and sent it to him. Yeah. And his, I guess, maybe his manager read it first and thought, yeah, Nick will like this, and he did. And he jumped on a call and we got on very well, and we were away.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's so funny because he just has so many incredible iconic moments on screen, and so many quotable lines. And I personally felt the minute I saw the movie that "Eat the Rat" is going to go down as like one of the most iconic Nicolas Cage lines. I mean, how could it not, right?
Yeah, totally. I mean, they're little gifts, there was that, there was That's a Good One. There was when he's going on about wanting to make his wife clams casino and puttanesca pasta. These are, I think, like, they're little gifts that Nick will give you if he's enjoying the collaboration. I think.
Yeah.
Because
if his heart is in it, basically.
Exactly. He's investing so much into it, into the performance, that he's thinking about it all the time, and thinking of ways of making a scene better, or like making something very memorable. So like Eat the Rat was like a bit of improvisation. Obviously the rat was written into the script, where he picks it up after killing it the night before, and he goes to eat it, but then doesn't in the script. But in when we went to shoot it, he put it in his pocket, and he wasn't even really sure what he was going to do with it yet, but he knew his character would do something with it. So, like our department wanted it back because we only had that one soft rat when, you know, would normally go into a box as a hero prop, but he wanted to keep it in his pocket the whole time while we were filming. And then he started telling me about this this idea he had that was connected to Sabrina, the movie, where a character takes an olive and puts it in another guy's mouth and says, "Eat it." So in his mind, connected the two things, and it was like a homage to Billy Wilder.
I love what a film historian he is. I love that he just like whips stuff like that out as inspiration. It's great. I mean, and the fact that he can make it work in whether it's a big film or a small film or a genre film, it's just fantastic. He, like you said, he's the gift that just keeps on giving ultimately. I do want to finish by asking, you know, you've had other films premiere at the Cannes Film Festival before. What was it like bringing this one there to the midnight section? And like, what do you get out of the experience of being there?
Yeah, it was surreal. It was amazing because we'd only just like we shot the film in October, November, and then posted it across like nonstop. Right, we only took a couple of days off for Christmas and the odd Sunday off, and then submitted it probably around like March, maybe even a little earlier to Cannes on the off chance. And then we were told that it was selected, so we had to try and finish it. So it was actually a race to finish, and then we just got it done, sent to Cannes, and then we're going to show it to people for the very first time in the Palais, like thousands of people, and on that gigantic screen, and everyone tuxedos. You know, it was all very surreal, really.
At midnight.
At midnight, but the crowd was great. You were there, and Nick having people chant "Manger le rat." You know, it was crazy. It was magic, weird.
I have such a vivid memory of walking out of the screening and onto the beach and turning to my friend who was with me and saying, "Don't live here, can't watch movies here."
Yeah. Yeah. And Tom, the writer, was he stayed in Cannes for a bit longer afterwards, and you know, going out all night. He was like getting worried that he'd end up like him, you know, just wandering around Cannes, going, "I wrote a film. It played here. It played here. It was you know."
Well, as we look ahead towards the future at this point, what is it that you have to look forward to, if you're allowed to say, that you're working on next?
Yeah, I'm working on a few different things. Working on a weird little film about a guy who gets trapped in a AI self-drive car called Spirit of the Road, which is great fun. And I'm working on another bigger project called Goliath, which is like a near future dystopian fable. And yeah, and then another a kind of a very sci-fi movie that takes you to Mars in a project called Romulus. So yeah, they're all at different stages of readiness, but so I don't know exactly which one's going to happen next, but yeah.
I love that you're exploring though different genres, different terrain, and you know, pushing yourself like to see, you know, whatever possibilities are out there, whether it is on medium scale, small scale, big scale, like keeping things fresh, right?
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy. I just want to make the films that I'd like to see, really, you know, because if I don't do it, who will?
Yeah. We're certainly living in that time where it is becoming more and more scarce and less risk is being taken. So I totally get what you mean.
Exactly, sure. Less risk is being taken, yeah. But I think the films that are original and interesting really kind of stay with the audience longer, you know? It's like when you're young and you see a film that, you know, when you're like 10 or 11 and you see a film that you weren't supposed to see until you're about 18 or something, it stays with you for life, you know?
Absolutely. Well, this film has already stayed with me for almost over a year at this point. I hope that people check it out, have fun with it, and maybe it'll stay with them in a damaging, scarring way or in a positive way, or maybe a little bit of both. But in any event, I really appreciate your time here, Lorcan. Thank you so much.
Thanks, man. Good to talk to you.
You too.